country, talking to the radio announcers, the church people and the street people, telling them that God has smiled on me. God has smiled on you if you got breath in your body. If he woke you up this morning and started you on your way. And I want to tell you some stories of people that God smiled on. We know the story of Dr. Martin Luther King, how he started way back in Montgomery, Alabama in 1955, trying just to get dignity, trying to get respect. And he went all the way to the mountaintop. But he didn't forget about the brothers in the valley. He didn't forget about those trapped in the alley. And I hear Brother Martin King say, God has smiled on me. He's been good to me. Let me tell you, God has smiled on me. It's been so good to me. Then I see as Dr. King went on, another man stepped into the forefront by the name of John F. Kennedy, who rose up and said, let's not stand back. Let's not wait for a handout. Let's wait for a way out. He said, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. He said, don't us gravel and don't us moan, because God done smile on us. Let me say it. God has smiled on me. He has set me free. Let me say it. God has smiled on me. One more time. I want to say it real slow. I'll say God has smiled on me. He has set me free. Pick it up. God has smiled on me. He's I feel it. Then I went on by backstage at the Apollo Theater and I saw a man come out. They call him the King of Soul, James Brown. And James Brown said, Reverend, don't you worry. I started out as a shoe shine boy. I started out as a convict. I started out uneducated. But I learned to sing my song. And I sung it all over the world. I told him it was a man's world. I told him about the big payback. I told him Papa got a brand new bag. And all over the world, they can hear my voice. But Reverend, don't you frown. Don't you bow your head. Tell him what you told me, Brother Brown. I said, now God has smiled on me. He has set me free. Yeah. Oh, yeah. I want to scream, y'all. I want to scream, y'all. God has smiled on me. He has set me free. Babyface.
Every step I take, you will be there. Every step I make, we'll be together. Every step I take, you will be there. Every step I make, we'll be together. Every step I take.
Thank you so much. I was thinking I was going to prepare a speech, but I can't read those things anymore. Name's Babyface, not Baby Body. But I wanted to, I mean, you made me sound so good with those words. I was like, that was me? I was like, when I look at my life and I think of the music and everything that I've done, I used to say that I don't know where it came from. I don't know where the words come from. I don't know where the music comes from. I don't know how I got here where I am, but that's not true. God got me here. This is and it becomes more clear to me every day that why I'm here. And I don't even know how I ended up standing here, except for the fact that I ran into Al at the Essence. He was walking in the room, and I said, I got to go say hello. And he said, I want to honor you. And I was like, really? He goes, yeah, I want to honor you. I said, really? Yep. And here I am standing here, and I can thank you. I always wanted to do this, Michael. I love you too. I'm sorry. But I think of moments like this, I can't help but just think of how proud my mom would be for me to standing here. I have to say that just to be standing here and to be invited by Al Sharpton, and I want you guys to really think about this man who invited me here and how he has been fighting the fight for us all of these years. I don't think we give him enough credit. I don't think we give him enough love. Sometimes you just get used to people and you think, well, that's just Al. No. He's more than that. I want y'all to give him really love. Come on, let's give him. It's very true. Because I can remember times, I'm 67 years old, I can remember times in Indianapolis, Indiana. Yeah, it's true, I'm 67. And I can remember times in Indianapolis when I was growing up, and there were places before I was 5 years old that I could not go to because I was black. And I remember how civil rights, how that changed everything for me and for my life, and that I'm standing here today because of all of those changes, and I was able to do the kind of music that I do and do everything because of those things happened. And so for me to accept an award like this, because I've never gotten an award like this before, and so I really appreciate it, and I'm just so thankful, and I thank my mom for giving me the sense to always be humble with my life and to never think that it's all about me. And so like I said, I didn't prepare a speech. I always just wanted to speak from my heart. And I'm speaking from my heart, and I want to tell you once again, Al Sharpton, you are a blessing to us all, and I thank you for inviting me for this, and thank you so much. Appreciate it, guys. Thank you.
One, two, three, I got the feeling. Hey, baby, I got the feeling. How I got that feeling, yeah. Hey, got that feeling, y'all. Come on. Feeling, baby. How I got the feeling, y'all. Can you put your hands together? I got the feeling. Oh, won't you say, baby, I got that. Ah! Baby, ow! Feeling, baby. Ow, hey, baby. Come on, sing it out. Baby, come on. Can't hear you. Hey, I got that. Thank you so much. My name is True Osborne. Humbled and honored.
Some of you forget where you come from and forget how you got there. And act like you got there because you were qualified or that you had a good resume. But some of us had to pay a price for your resume to even be read. Some of us had to take nights in jails and licks upside the head or shut out of boardrooms like Byron so you could walk down red carpets and act like you got there by yourself. So I received this award with a special place in my heart and on my shelf because I'm getting it from a freedom fighter who never forgot where he came from and how he got there. Yes, we've come a long way. We've had now a black president and now a black vice president, but we still can get shot down and have to march to get a case in court. We still can get shut out of boardrooms. We're still doubly unemployed in a good economy. So we're gonna have to keep marching. And I thank not only my family, a mother that raised me by herself, but I thank that lady at the end of the march that knows she won't be on TV that night and knows her name will never be in the paper, but she believed in me enough to get at the end of the line and make me look good. Because Dr. King used to say, if you call a march and no one shows up, you just going for a walk. And I want to thank those that marched with me. 32 years ago, here in Los Angeles, we marched. And then many years later, with George Floyd and others, we're still marching. And I'm gonna keep marching, I'm gonna keep agitating, and I'm gonna keep going. Until we don't have to do it anymore. Eddie, known you a long time, Mariah, Chris and your kids. And I promise you this, the only thing that I really live for is I get up with this dream that every bigot, every racist, everyone in this country that hates will say, damn, he's up again.
Reverend Al Sharpton, and we're back. 1-877-532-5797. 1-877-532-5797. Let's go back to the phone. Attorney Jennifer Jones Austin. You know, every day, Monday through Friday, I do 3 hours a day on Keeping It Real with Reverend Al Sharpton. I do 1 hour on Sunday mornings with Reverend Al Sharpton. And I'm live on radio and TV with the Saturday Action Rally. 7 days a week, I talk to our people, hear from them, to call in. I'm sick and tired of people talking for people that they don't talk to. So go on www.nationalactionnetwork.net. Listen to my show, call in, express your opinion. You don't have to agree with me. But let's start talking to each other rather than about each other and lecturing at each other. Let's keep it real with Sharpton.
Church, I want to present to you a man of God, a man of his community, the Reverend Howard Hundley.
Together. Yes, I am. Trouble don't last always. I'm so glad. Yes, I am. Trouble don't last always. Can I get a witness? I'm so glad. Trouble don't last always.
Dead. Friday,
Fight for democracy. That's what it is.
October the 10th. Do you know what time it is? It's Sharpton's time, and for the next 3 hours, it's time to put aside all pretenses, deception, denial, or fronting. The time has come to keep it real on Keeping It Real with Reverend Al Sharpton. A very good afternoon to you all across the country. And good morning to our West Coast listeners. And welcome to those listening on Sirius XM, Channel 126, The Urban View, where talk empowers and becomes action. Well, it's Exhale Friday, and I open up the phones on Fridays and let you know that you are welcomed here to express your thoughts, your views, your opinions. All you have to do is call me at 1-877-532-5797, 1-877-532-5797, or you can text a message on our message board by going to www.nationalactionnetwork.net and go to our live stream page and post me a message. Mayor Rodney Jones is on the message board already. Explaining as we do during commercials, do some videos on the message board, and he's telling the other message board viewers that he's watching this. They had played a scene from New York Undercover, Season 1, Episode 15, and showed me speaking and the Godfather Gospel, Timothy Wright, in that scene. We talked about it this week, and the mayor of Queensbridge, Rodney Jones, was explaining to people what they were looking at, and that is exactly what it is. Then I see Forensic Accountant says, been listening since Shop Talk. Yeah, that was my first radio show, Shop Talk. So, been with me a while. And Kennedy Marie Shabazz is saying, good afternoon to everyone. Reverend Sharpton, I'm hollering the James Brown song, Get On Up. Keeping it real. God bless you. And Reverend Sharpton, I love you. I love you back, Kennedy, I do. Let me say a lot is going on. The ceasefire in the Middle East seems to be starting. Phase 1, as they're calling it, is to release all of the hostages that Hamas took from Israel, the remaining hostages, dead or alive. And it is going to be a phase where they stop the ceasefire. They start the ceasefire, go forward with the pushing back the troops in Israel to a certain degree, and then deciding on what will be the body that will govern Palestine. Now, Israel and Hamas has agreed to this. Now, that's phase 1. Now, when they get to phase 2 of who's going to govern Gaza, how far back Israel backs away, that's where it gets tricky. And it could fall apart. Donald Trump is supposed to be going there Monday or Tuesday to Egypt to receive the hostages. And it's going to be interesting. He negotiated this, phase 1. I give him credit for that. I'm not going to be as low as he and some of his people are when he does something that he should be given credit for. then I'll give him that. Of course, we couldn't get to the end of the day. I was on Morning Joe yesterday morning. I gave him credit. I said, I give him credit on this, though I think he's dead wrong. And I'm fighting him on the Chicago as well as Portland and other places. He's invading cities and people's rights. And then late yesterday afternoon, he got his instructed indicting of New York State Attorney General Tish James. And the report was he accidentally posted a message pressuring Pam Bondi to charge his enemies, source says. And he has had Tish James, who was the New York State Attorney General, that got convictions of sexual assault and fraud on his businesses. He's had indictment on James Comey this week, and some of these indictments may be thrown out. Clearly, if it's a revenge motive, and he is saying out loud, I mean, he put it on social media, he wanted them indicted. Well, how does a judge, a fair judge, let that go? And even if he does, how does a jury let that go? President of the United States is not supposed to be instructing indictments. And I think that when you look at the indictments and how thin they are, you will understand why and how this is questionable at best. Then we see that Congressman Mike Lawler tried to do a confrontation with Minority Leader of the House, Hakeem Jeffries, over the shutdown. And shutdown, again, I want people to understand this. The Democrats are saying, we'll vote with you to open the government, just extend the Affordable Care Act because it expires. They won't do that, knowing that by not extending it, that 11 to 20 million people will lose their health insurance, and the others it will go up. And the Democrats are saying, just extend it and let us debate it in January when we come back after holiday session. They won't do that. So that's why we continue to see a shutdown rather. And question now is, Trump and his administration is threatening to not even pay the workers for the days they're off. So let me get this right. You're going to shut down to take millions of people's life health insurance, and you're going to tell people they got to work even if they're not going to get paid. And if they don't come to work, even though they can't get paid, and people got things like they have to take care of their families and maybe find somewhere they can make money until this is straight, you ain't gonna give them their back pay. That's what you Trump supporters voted for. Well, that's what you get. Yeah. That's what you're getting. Other thing is that Trump had wanted to get the Nobel Prize, kept saying he deserved the Nobel Peace Prize. And they announced someone else today. The opposition leader in Venezuela got it for fighting totalitarianism there. I'm sure he was disappointed. Mayor Rodney Jones says, can you explain to me why people are upset about Trump not receiving the Nobel Peace Prize when he's declaring a war on American citizens? He's deserving of the Donkey of the Day award. I would not. Only place I would disagree with you there is Donkey usually represents Democrats. Let's give him the Elephant of the Day award, and the elephant sat on him on that one. I don't see how somebody that pardoned people from January 6th, that beat law enforcement people and threatened people, and he pardoned them. which means it's acceptable, I don't see why anybody thought he should get a Peace Prize anyway. Now, again, the Peace Prize process in and of itself is interesting because Winston Churchill, who was a war general, a war officer, and was the Prime Minister of England during World War II, he got a Nobel Peace Prize, and Mahatma Gandhi, who was one of the historic proponents of peace and nonviolence, never got one. Dr. King got one. Ralph Bunche got one, but it is clear that Trump was obsessing on this, and he didn't get it this time. Lot to talk about today, lot to exhale, certainly on the indictment of Tish James. Isn't it interesting they went after Tish James now, went after the prosecutor in Baltimore, went after Fannie Willis in Atlanta, went after Comey, after all those black women he went after. Very interesting. There's a pattern. And I think it's a law enforcement kind of process that you follow patterns because sometimes there's a pattern of crime. Well, look like every black woman that messed with Trump, he made sure to come back and prosecute them. You gotta remember the people in Virginia, in that district office, that federal prosecutor district office, said there wasn't enough evidence to go after Tish James. They made him resign, put in one of Trump's former lawyers, and this lady's never tried a case, never been in the federal government. And now all of a sudden she indicts, and she couldn't even get the line item prosecutors in the office to sign on with her. She went and got 2 federal assistant U.S. attorneys out of North Carolina. If this don't sound like a setup, then I don't know what does. All right, let's talk about all of this. It's Exhale Friday. Whatever's on your mind, whatever's in your heart. 1-877-532-5797. 1-877-532-5797. Sharpton, keeping it real. Be right back.
So who is Al Sharpton anyway? Who is this 33-year-old preacher without a church?
A number of black New Yorkers as well. He is little more than a pudgy exhibitionist who can be counted on to show up, bullhorn in hand, at every racial incident.
I often quote Mark Twain saying, the 2 most important moments in life is the moment you are born and the moment you find out why you were born. I had a very troubling conversation the other day that prompted me to do this little video. Young man that I've known a while came to me and he was crushed. I mean, really crushed, because people were criticizing his work. He's in the ministry, but he's also an actor. And he said he couldn't understand why people were jumping all over, criticizing him, trying to find scandalous and derogatory things about him. And I told him, I said, you know, you very young. You don't know the road I've traveled. They called me everything but a child of God.
A blabbermouth, a loudmouth, too flamboyant, an agitator, a racist,
and I had to learn.
Yeah, right.
I was not defined by how others saw me. I was defined by how I saw myself and whether I was being true to myself. Some of you watching this don't like me. And it doesn't matter as long as I know what I'm doing and I like me for being real. So I'm doing this video to say to you, whoever you are and whatever you do, you may not be in ministry or social justice, none of this stuff, but don't live your life worried about opposition or people that don't like you. You can turn that around. Use me as an example. The same people that call me a scam artist, a con artist, a sellout, or racial hustler and all, I kept going.
And the people I respected started respecting and publicly embracing my work.
When Coretta Scott King, the widow of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., had this to say about Al Sharpton.
A leader who has protested injustice with a passionate, unrelenting commitment to nonviolent action in the spirit and tradition of Martin Luther King Jr. And I am talking about your leader, our leader, the Reverend Al Sharpton.
The other thing that hasn't changed is the National Action Network's commitment to fight injustice and inequality here in New York City and across America. And that's not only a testament to Reverend Sharpton, it's a testament to all of you who are here tonight.
First and foremost, to Reverend Sharpton. I saw him when he first came on the scene, and I have marveled at his tenacity, at the development of his intellect, and his devotion to our movement, and much he has contributed to the world we are experiencing. I am honored, and I must say that when I had my debate with Dr. King on the issue of the church and religion, he didn't warn me that after his departure, his space would be filled by another preacher, and that preacher would be Al Sharpton.
All you want in life is people that matter to you to say you did all right. And more important, that you can look in the mirror and say you did all right.
Thank you, Rev. Thanks for that introduction. Look, we've known each other for a long time. I'm grateful not only for your leadership and partnership, but quite frankly, more importantly, for your friendship. And thanks to all of you, members of our nation's most important civil rights organization.
You have been, over all of your years, such an extraordinary leader. You are a voice of truth, a voice of conscience, a voice of practicality around what we must address and what we can do. And I thank you so much for your friendship.
I remember that most of the youth around Al's age, he was about 12, wanted to be like Connie Hawkins, a great basketball player, legend, or Earl the Pearl, or Clyde Frazier. Al wanted to be like Adam Powell, a powerful preacher with a social justice gospel. He was very close to, at that time, to Reverend William Augustus Jones, powerful preacher and social justice advocate, and Reverend Gardner Taylor State right down the street, and Bishop Washington, whose church he came from, and Reverend Sandy Ray. He wanted to be like these giant preachers. He wanted them to have the edge, however, of the King's social justice dimension. He wanted to be like them, now he's one of them. Perhaps taller than most of them because of the risks he has taken and the reward God has given him with his gift. I remember so well that I first escorted him to jail. He was around 13 years old with the jail fighting the ANP. He was in the lineage of our struggle. He grew up in it. We didn't just see him on TV one night. He didn't happen. He came bottom up, not top down.
We have a young man in the studio who I think is an astounding young brother because of his youth. He's only 19 years old and he's accomplished a lot, and he's here to make a presentation to James Brown, and we'd like to welcome him warmly. His name is Al Sharpton. How about if Al Sharpton? Al is the national director of the National Youth Movement Incorporated. Right, Al?
That's right.
And what do we have here?
Well, we come to break tradition. We know that in the recording industry that they give a gold record to those that achieve a million seller. But we view your million seller payback as a black record because it is relevant and says many of the things that young blacks have tried to say and could not musically express in our own little way. And we feel the payback is sort of like the theme song of Young Black America in 1974. Yeah.
Now, before you go into the title tune of your latest album, you have a special guest.
Yeah, I do have a special guest, a young lady.
That's going to perform with you?
Yeah, she's going to.
Thank you for joining us for Weekdays Live with Reverend Al Sharpton. Take the time to share this broadcast right now. Tell your friends it's time to keep it real with Reverend Al. Comment your questions now in the chat or call Reverend Al Sharpton directly on air at 877-532-5797. Now stay tuned for Reverend Al.
This is Reverend Al Sharpton. As you watch the broadcast, support National Action Network. Go to www.nationalactionnetwork.net and be involved. You can join, take your membership right online, www.nationalactionnetwork.net. Getting ready to start the program, but we need you to be part of the movement.
So it's become almost an unhealthy habit how much I'm listening to Keep It Real, because it is the realest thing on the air anywhere, whether it be online or whether it be on the radio or wherever it's coming into you from, because there's no one of Rev's importance and caliber who is as dominant a media figure as he is, who allows people to speak at length, and who he treats with equal respect and admiration with every call, whether he agrees with you or not. And I'm not gonna throw shade at anybody, but there are a lot of people with big platforms like the Rev has who are afraid to talk to the people and who are afraid that the people will keep it real with them. And he never shies away from anything any of us want to talk to him about. And he doesn't shut you up. It's not a soundbite, it's a conversation. So I would like people in media to learn from this man who is carrying MLK's torch. Don't be afraid of people. Listen to them, respect them, and stand in God and stand in truth. Thank you, Nan. Thank you, Rev. Thank you, everybody who puts this together.
Reverend Al Sharpton, and we're back. 1-877-532-5797. It's Exhale Friday. Whatever's on your mind, whatever's in your heart. 1-877-532-5797. 1-877-532-5797. Don't forget, watch Politics Nation with Al Sharpton live at 5 p.m. Eastern Time, both tomorrow, Saturday, and Sunday. I'm going to dig into deeply the whole question of the lockout, how we can break the cycle. I'm going to have one of the leaders of the Senate on. I'm going to have look into what's going on in Chicago, where a judge has temporarily said that ICE and others shouldn't be there. I'm going to have members of Congress on. Sunday, I am also going to have on the chair of the Congressional Black Caucus to talk about what is going on with the indictment of Tish James, the New York State Attorney General. I'm also going to have on Rachel Maddow. Rachel Maddow is going to be on my show talking about the documentary she's produced on civil rights leader Andrew Young that will be on next week on MSNBC. So Rachel's joining me on Sunday. So watch both nights, 5 p.m. Eastern Time on MSNBC. You that are in the New York area or vicinity, meet me at the rally in the morning. I'll be at the Saturday Action Rally, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. at the House of Justice in Harlem, 145th Street and Lenox Avenue. Don't miss the rally tomorrow. We're going to deal a lot on this shutdown and what we need to do about the Tish James indictment. Do not miss tomorrow morning. I'll be looking for you there. You that are not in the New York area, you can watch it live on Impact Television or on nationalactionnetwork.net live stream, and a lot to talk about there. All right, let me open up the phones. It's Exhale Friday. I am coming to everybody now. Don't do a sermon. Remember that other people are waiting to come on. So if I cut you off, I'm not being rude. I'm being considerate of other people. Let's start with Disco Brian. Disco Brian in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, WURD. Disco Brian.
Exhaling with you, Rev. Thank you for coming back. And I will try to be as brief as I can. Of course, I want to discuss and solve all the problems of the world with you, but I know that is not possible. First, I want to just thank you for providing a platform that introduced me to the Stephanie Humphrey channel, where I had the honor of attending one of her Bible studies last night. That was wonderful. So thank you for that. And number two, what's shaping up in the Middle East looks like the pathway for Trump's unconscionable dream, a Nobel Peace Prize, as you mentioned. These so-called ceasefire proposals that Thomas Friedman praised this morning on Morning Joe are being dictated, Rev, by tyrants. The Israeli tyrant, the American tyrant, and the Arab tyrant. Despots, dictators, kings, and a felon. And so I think we all need to remember, since it seems to be have become forgotten for a very interesting reason, that the real alternative model of actual Jewish, Muslim, Christian unity for democracy is happening in Ukraine, where democracy is at stake, and where the Jewish President Zelensky made a Muslim his defense minister. And they are united in fighting that genocidal tyrant Putin. And that is a peace story that our coalition needs to continue to remember and be lifting up. Rev number 3, it is delightful to know that your daughter Dominique's incredible voice, vision, and courage, as well as that of Nan's vice chair attorney Austin, triumphantly carry your legacy forward, as yesterday's Keepin' It Real proved. So please allow me to clarify a misunderstanding from my contribution to the message board yesterday at thedemocracy.fun. I intend nothing but respect and fealty to Nan's second in command. So when I say I think it's important for white and male leaders to support, defend, and be led by the Congressional Black Caucus, and specifically by black women, I am not kidding in any way. I'm trying to make the case that real men protect, support, and uplift women, and in particular black women. So my fealty, Rev, is to Kamala Harris, who gave a strong signal last night that she will be running for president again. My fealty is to Kendra Brooks here in Philly, as well as Jasmine Crockett and the Congressional Black Caucus chairwoman, Yvette Clark, as well as Leader Jeffries. So my fealty, Rev, as I have told you before, will never be to any Bernie-endorsed so-called progressive, because far too many of them have failed the test, in my view. Too many of them, as we expose in our YouTube video, called the Manosphere's Bernie bromance, joined the Manosphere in depressing Democratic turnout last year, and should be reflecting about that right now. So all I was and am trying to do, Rev, is buttress those many glorious sermons that you have given and continue to give since last year's election, where you righteously call out those who refuse to vote for Kamala Harris. And I know he continues to join you on stages, Rev, but Mamdani continues to defend his reason for refusing to endorse Harris in the very same way so many TikTok poisoned voters, both Gentile and Jew in my own family, do. They blame Kamala and Democratic establishment for Netanyahu's war crimes. And that is the very narrative, the very framing that depressed turnout for her and delivered Trump 2.0 and this MAGA nightmare. So my question, Rev, is how do we hold Mamdani and others like him who continue to blame Biden-Harris for the war crimes of Bibi accountable without insulting him or sounding like we're attacking him? And how do I pursue a good faith criticism of his bad faith framing without insulting your second in command, people I love and cherish and respect? Thank you, Rev.
All right, thank you for your call. Well, I don't know that it's about not hurting anybody's feelings. It's about what's right. I think that the questioning of Mandami or anybody else on their statements about Kamala Harris last year or Joe Biden are appropriate. If you're not going to be able to answer the questions and be addressed as being less than what people wanted at the time, you shouldn't seek office. So I don't think you should apologize for that. I think that they need to be able to answer the question. And I think among the answers could be, maybe I was wrong. And I think people are ready to accept people that are honest about, maybe I characterized it wrong, maybe I should rethink it, or I stand by what I said. Either one will do. I hear the music. Let's take a break. We'll be right back. Keeping it real. Sharpton. Be right back.
Knew love like this before, 'cause I never knew love like this before.
Sounds so good. That was beautiful. Thank you, everyone. I am humbled and grateful to be here with you tonight. I love you too. I love you too. It seems like I've known Reverend Al Sharpton all my life. My mom was such a fan of his, and I've seen him through my life in LA at MCA Records. When I was there, he'd come through, you know, and get those people straight about our contracts and talk about that. And I haven't been honored a lot. Maybe this is my second time, and I'm 68 years old. And I've been in this business my entire life. I've never done what you would call a real job. But I am truly honored, and I'm thankful, and I love us. I love my black people. And I fight for us, and I want the women, the black women, to really know their worth. Know that they're queens. That's important to me. That's how my mother raised me. My mother was militant, I guess, when it wasn't trendy, yes. Because when I was a little girl, my mother and father would drive in Brooklyn. I'm from Brooklyn, Bed-Stuy, do or die. And when she would see police officers handling black children or a black boy or a girl, she would have my father stop and say, she'd get out of the car and she'd say, "What's going on here? Wait a minute, what you doing?" All the time. So it's natural that I'm that way, because I'm so tired of seeing our black men beaten with handcuffs. They have handcuffs on. That's important to me. That's my fight. I want love in this world. We're living in some, I love you, I love you. I never knew love like this before. I can't sing because we just finished doing 3 shows back to back. And I flew in this morning, and because Reverend Al wanted me to sing home. There's no way I could sing home, but okay. When I think of home, I think of a place where there's love overflowing. I wish I was home. I wish I was back there with the things I've been knowing. When that makes us tall grass bend into leaning, suddenly the raindrops that fall have a meaning. Sprinkling the sea makes it all clean. But thank you. Thank you. Happy birthday. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. I love you. I love you with my life.
Stephanie Mills.
And I think that is extremely important about the funding. But I also want to add how they're changing what can be taught. You have states outright saying you can't teach Black history and you can't teach certain other histories and the curriculum. You have this administration that is literally taking out exhibits from the Smithsonian. So we have not only an education problem in terms of resources, we have an education problem in terms of curriculum and what people are being taught. So I have one grandchild, 6-year-old. When he gets to high school, it may be just against the law for him to learn about certain parts of American history, which includes Black. We don't want to talk about slavery. We want to talk about the good side of America. Well, what does that mean? That's not history. Everything was not good. And I think that that is the threat that we've got to fight, which is why we've got to fight with the courts and the streets, because they're literally changing the textbooks as we go. As they do that, they change the opportunities, because then the fight against affirmative action is not having access to these institutions and telling these institutions, this whole fight around DEI, which they started at Harvard with a Black woman president. Started with them saying, you can't teach me.
Tony Wafer, Los Angeles chapter, NASDAQ Network. He just came here to New York a couple days ago, had to stop by the House of Justice, and I sure enough found some justice. So I know I can leave here feeling like I got peace.
Hey, what's up? They're doing, thank you. They're doing What's on Your Mind? Yeah. All right, then, we got a birthday this week. I got to talk about that.
Oh, no.
Happy birthday this weekend. And Carrie White's birthday, right?
Corey's birthday's today.
Yeah, and I got to tell Reverend Bird, reading Daniel 5th chapter. I want him to read. And I'm ready. Got a message from today, so we'll be on the air in what? Half hour.
About a half hour.
You should tune in to the WBLS 107.5 FM and National Impact and
You're live, Rev.
Keeping it real. Keeping it real. I'm your host, Reverend Al Sharpton. It is Exhale Friday, 1-877-532-5797, 1-877-532-5797, or go to our message board, OG Kelly, saying blaming the Democrats for shutdown when you control the House and Senate and the White House only proves you can't govern. Let's go to Demetrius in Milwaukee. Dimitri in Milwaukee.
Yes. Hello, Reverend.
Hello there.
How you doing?
I'm doing well.
Good, good. I love your show. I try to tune in as much as I can. I like how you go in on Trump and his administration, exposing all the lies, the deceit, and even the criminality and the contradictions within his administration. I really admire you for doing that, because it seems like a lot of people are, you're welcome, because it seems like a lot of people are afraid of him. And you're not, obviously. But I was just wondering, who's at fault here for the shutdown? I mean, it should be obvious. But do you feel it's more him and his administration, or some of the Democrats are at fault? Who do you think is
Well, I think
responsible for this?
in honesty, and thank you for your call, and Dimitri, and good question. I think that it has to fall on Donald Trump and the Republicans. They control the Senate. They have the majority. They have the majority of the House. They got the White House. They even had the Supreme Court. So you can't say that we are in control of the government, but when the government shuts down, it's not our fault. The fact of the matter is, I think the Democrats are doing, in this case, what they're supposed to do. They're saying, don't let the Affordable Care Act expire. And if you just agree to renew it and we can pick it up in January, then we'll vote to keep the government open. If you don't, we're not going to let the Affordable Care Act expire on 11 to 20 million people, which is what they always wanted to do, is in the Affordable Care Act, and have these people lose their health insurance or lose it at the cost they can pay, because this is what you want to do and you're going to use the shutdown to do it. So I think they're at fault. But thank you for your call. Let me go to Wale in New York. Wale.
How you doing today, Rev?
I'm doing good. How you doing?
I don't know. I think the switching of the seasons sometimes, make you feel kind of weird, But like you said, you don't want a soliloquist. That's the word my sister used. She don't give me a soliloquist. I think that's how she pronounced. But I just wanted to say two things. What's his name? Gonzalez, that comes to the rally, Joe Gonzalez, if he's listening, I want him to come to the rally tomorrow because I need to talk to him. He's very concerned about NYCHA, and I just want to share some stuff. So Joe Gonzalez, if you're listening, I saw him on TV the other day. He was at City Hall at one of the hearings. He left, though. He left too soon. I guess he got tired of waiting for the public to testify, so he left. I saw him when he walked out. But hopefully he'll be there at the rally tomorrow so I can get his phone number. The other thing, Reverend Sharpton, I'm very, very concerned, and I know, like you said, don't give a soliloquist, just make it to the point. I've been listening to these radio shows lately. A lot of them are organizations that deal with indigenous people. So they'll tell you, we're here to represent the indigenous people, the trans people. They bring up trans and the people, the Israel and stuff like that. And I really, Reverend Sharpton, I really want to be able to accept everybody, Reverend Uncle Sharpton. I want to really, from my heart, be able to accept everybody, because, like you say and other people say, we're all on this planet. We got here. Everybody's an individual. We all feel the way we feel. Who is anybody to ostracize anybody because we ain't God and all this kind of thing here? And then we're told, Reverend Sharpton, that, live and let live. Or, we're told if you really love that person and they're gay, if you really love them, you're not going to put them down. You're not going to ostracize them and all this kind of thing here. But what about the people who really feel that, no, I don't like my son is gay. No, I don't like my daughter is trans. Why do we always have to feel like we have to convert to how other people feel? We have to change how we feel. Because gay people are very firm about how they feel. Gay people are very focused. Trans people are very focused. So why is it that people who don't like those things, never mind feeling that they're wrong, never mind, Reverend Sharpton, believing that, God made Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve. Put all that on the side. Just how you just naturally feel that it just ain't natural or whatever. How do we cope? I know we need to talk about it more. We don't have a lot of venues, if that's how you pronounce it. But we can create our own vineyards. There's so many ways you can do a podcast. You can do a YouTube channel. Or there's a lot of stuff out here. So I realized that part. But how do I cope, you know, like I hear these people, they include, you know, they'll say, oh, the blacks, the Jews, and the gays, and, you know, as if we all conspirators or something. But when people really don't, not so much say that they don't agree with it or God didn't make them that way and all this kind of thing here, but they weep.
I feel you. It's a very good question, complex. And the best way I can answer it, Wally, is say that I think people have the right to say whatever they want to say. They don't like this one, they don't like that one, they don't like gays, they don't like trans, they don't agree with this, they don't agree with that. What they don't have the right to do is to say, therefore, since I don't like it, they should not have the same rights and privileges I have. As long as you don't impose on their rights as a person to do whatever everybody else could do, then I think you had a right to have your feelings about it. But here's the other part of that. You also then have to accept people that don't like you. So, and as long as they don't infringe on your rights, then that's fine. See, what I say to people say to me, Wale, well, Rem Al, you support LGBTQ rights. Yeah, I support the fact that they should be able to do whatever everybody else does. Yeah, but I got a problem. I'm not comfortable with LGBTQ people. Okay. But if we get a standard where you're being uncomfortable with people because of what they are, then suppose somebody on your job say, I'm uncomfortable because they black. Oh, no, well, that's racist. Well, then that's homophobic. You can't have it both ways. If you're going to make the law that it's all right to treat people differently because you don't agree with them or you don't agree with how they are, then you're setting up the law to do it to you. You had people for centuries, Whitman. You had people for centuries saying that being black was the curse of Ham. They could say the same way people say about gays, that God cursed them, and they believe that. But they don't have the right to legally force that is my problem.
But Uncle Sharpton, what I'm trying, and that's why I'm learning how to just like be quiet and just meditate. I'm really learning how to meditate because you wanted to say that you don't want to hurt nobody's feelings or whatever. I personally think, I'm not talking about laws though. What I personally think is I think people can pray. I think the young people just give in too easy to stuff. I think they give in, Uncle Sharpton. They're giving in to stuff. You have to be able to, because when we was coming up, I'm around your age too, a little younger than you. When we was coming up, there was no whole, you didn't have a gazillion colors. You had black, white, gray, and brown, correct? You didn't have all these different choices, and nowadays everything, you got so many choices or whatever. But we were able to think, they did give you, your parents did give you a little bit of a leeway to think. They let you go to the park. You didn't have to have a chaperone to go to the park when I was coming up, and all this kind of thing here. So what is it that I'm trying to say? I think if something don't feel uncomfortable to you, by all means, pursue it. But if it feels uncomfortable, you got to go within your thoughts. Hopefully you believe in God, and then you can meditate and, oh, Lord, what should I do? And hopefully he'll give you an answer. But to just submit to stuff, I think the people nowadays, we don't give ourselves a chance to fight. Because if I'm born a girl, there's a lot of goodness to being a girl. That sensitivity, that bubblegum pink, that I don't know who figured out pink is for girls and blue is for boys, but it's a good thing. That's my favorite color, bubblegum pink. And that femininity and wearing the dress and being feminine, that's a beautiful thing. And if there's something beating you to death to try to get rid of that femininity that's in you, you give that thing a black eye and you fight for your femininity because it's a beautiful thing. It's got a wonderful fragrance. And if you're a boy, you fight for your masculinity and your boyhood, and you don't let nothing take it from you.
But I think, again, Wally, I think thank you for your call, thank you for your call, but I think, again, you had a right to that opinion, but you don't have a right to make laws that make them, Because they could say, I'm fine. I feel great what I do. I'm saying that we must protect everybody's rights under the law. Otherwise, others can use that against us. And that's what you're seeing with Donald Trump and them. So there's a lot of things that go down that I'm not comfortable with, but I'm going to fight for their right to do that. And I just say I'm not with that, but you had the right to do that. But the minute I start saying that you don't have the right to do anything that I'm not comfortable with or I disagree with, I am loading the gun for somebody to do it to me and you. That's all I'm saying. Let's take a break. Exhale Friday, whatever's on your mind. And that was a good exchange, by the way, Wally. We need to talk more about stuff like that. 1-877-532-5797. Sharpton, keeping it real. Be right back.
Thing past hope. Because, I grew up, like I said, single mama on welfare. And my mother told me there's a part in life that hope's gonna run out. But she told me you got a double barrel in your engine. I said, what is that? She said, you can switch from hope to faith. Faith is a little deeper than hope. Bishop Hilly is here. Faith is when hope runs out. Faith is the substance of things. Hope for the evidence of things not seen. Faith is when we were emancipated after 246 years of slavery and walked off the plantations with no education, no money, no future. And we built black churches and black colleges and black fraternities. We had faith. Faith made us stand up to the most powerful nation in the world and turn it around. Faith means we went from the back of the bus to the front of the White House. We come this far by faith, leaning on the Lord, trusting in His holy word. He never failed us yet. Some people report the news, others interpret it, but there are those who transform it into truth. Ari Melba has redefined journalism with intellect, creativity, and courage. He blends culture and current events, politics and poetry, truth and transparency. And in doing so, he reminds us that storytelling is a sacred work. Ari understands that our narratives shape our nation, and he has used his platform to highlight issues that matter to the people, not just to the powerful. Tonight we honor him for bridging art and activism, for using his voice to educate, inspire, and empower. Join me, please, in celebrating Ari Melba, recipient of the President's Award of Historic Transformative Leadership.
Good evening. Thanks for having me. How are you guys doing? First of all, Babyface is 67 years old. We might need a fact check on that. What an honor to be up here with Rev and everyone else. When Rev started out, they said, he's just doing this to get on TV. Now he has a TV show. He kept along and they said, well, he's just setting himself up to run for office, be a politician. Now he has the politicians coming here to be accountable to you. We're celebrating his 71st birthday, God bless. I don't think he's planning to run for office in his late 70s or 80s, although people do that nowadays. I don't know if you've heard. So as far as I can tell, maybe he was doing it for the people. Maybe he was doing it for voting rights and human rights and being an advocate for people in communities where when bad things do happen, they don't have a local advocate or a federal advocate. Or suddenly it doesn't feel like they have anyone who cares about what's happening to them. So it's funny, in the middle you can't always prove the case, but by this stage in his illustrious contributions to the United States, he's doing it for everyone. So shout out to Rev. I'm really honored to get this award. My grandmother was a refugee. My father's an immigrant. Like a lot of other people that I get to interact with, I'm very aware that my worst days are better than some of their best days. And so I keep that in mind, and I know Rev does and a lot of other people do. This award was called Leadership in the Arts. I'm honored by it. I love the arts. I won't say whether I've ascended to being a leader in the arts, but I will share with you the leaders I learned from. I learned civil rights from Sam Cooke. I learned about colonialism from Bob Marley. I learned about activism from Gil Scott-Heron. He said the revolution will not be televised. We're working on that. Reb and I are working on that. I learned about the media from KRS-One. I learned about politics from Public Enemy. I learned about police brutality from Tupac and about feminism from Lauryn Hill. So when I was growing up, I did okay in school, but I was quickly learning as a teenager there was all of these parts that weren't in the official story, but they were true. So yes, we try to reflect some of that in our reporting. In times like this right now in America, art and free speech are under attack. It's not just the historians, bless them. It's not just the normal newspaper reporters, bless them. It's also the comedians, from Kimmel to D.L. Hughley. It's also the artists. We've seen the crackdowns on people who sing or share their thoughts through other forms of expression. And so, in a moment like this, as we've seen in, unfortunately, other countries around the world, it feels like just telling the truth becomes a radical act. That's a bad sign for the health of your democracy. But the truth can help redeem our democracy. So I'll end with a bar. Is that all right? Should we do one bar? From New York's own Jay-Z, Sean Carter, Hove. He's talking about people that might not be truthful with you, that might not keep it up.
1, 2, 3, I got the feeling. Hey, baby, baby, I got the feeling. How I got that feeling, yeah. Hey, 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 got that feeling, y'all. Come on. Feeling, baby. How I got the feeling, y'all. Can you put your hands together? I got the feeling. Oh, won't you say, baby, baby, I got that. Thank you so much. My name is True Osborne. Humbled and honored. All right.
I had a thought this morning that I want to share with you about mentorship. I am able to do a lot of what I do because I had great mentors. I had a thought this morning that I want to share with you about mentorship. I am able to do a lot of what I do because I had great mentors. But there are correct ways and incorrect ways to mentor people, in my opinion. I was mentored as a boy preacher by Bishop F.D. Washington, one of the great Pentecostal preachers of his time. Then Reverend William Jones, who became my pastor after Bishop Washington died, who was unquestionably in the top 5 black
church ministers, theologians. Reverend Jesse Jackson, who I started my activism under his leadership, he and Reverend Jones. And I learned politics directly as a youth director from Shirley Chisholm. So even though I didn't finish college, I had the most unique education in the world from being exposed to giants. But the one thing I learned is as I grew older and people started coming younger than me and wanted me to teach and mentor them, the magic of the mentors I had is they did not want me to be their clone. They wanted me to learn things from them and use my own gifts and talent in my own unique way and let me do things on my own, because they knew that if I flopped in some things, it would teach me for the other things. They'll come and help me once I was down, but they were not going to have me avoid being down. And they were not going to impose themselves on me. Why am I saying that? Because too many mentors want clones and too many mentees.
Keeping it real, keeping it real. I'm your host, Reverend Al Sharpton, and we're back. It's Exhale Friday. Whatever's on your mind, whatever's in your heart, and we're going to let you express it. You can call in at 1-877-532-5797, 1-877-532-5797, or you can go to the message board at nationalactionnetwork.net, go to live stream. When I go to you on the phones, please keep it short. I have a full board. I want to get to everybody. Let me bring in, I'm joined by one of my special assistant here at National Action Network, minister and political analyst, Reverend Stephen Marshall. How you doing today, Reverend?
I'm great, Rev. Great to be back with you.
Explain to the national audience, you do political work in the city aside from your ministry and aside from the civil rights work you do through NAN. What is the reaction and the general attitude of people that you've encountered in the last, I guess, 18 hours around the indictment of the New York State Attorney General Tish James?
I think people are overwhelmingly, well, let me put it like this. I don't think people are surprised. The president has put a target on the backs of those who he feels went after him, prosecuted him, although judges who are sworn to the bench and a higher oath of integrity as it relates to the law and the Constitution has deemed him to be found liable for those things. But people are overly upset around this blatant, probably the biggest act of political reprisal that I know I have seen in my short years of living. People are more pissed off, I think, than the notion that Trump was actually going to do it. I think it's mostly sobering now that he actually did it. And so people are very, very angry, outraged. I think at the same time people are organized around, it's almost the saying that it doesn't hit home until it hits home. I think Tish is a part of our community locally. She never became successful and left the community, so people can touch her. So I think this feels more like a family member being accused of something that many feel like she has not done anything wrong.
I think that's a good assessment. Let's take some calls. Let me go to Jerry in Cleveland, Ohio. Jerry.
Hi, how are you doing, Reverend?
I'm doing well. How are you?
I'm pretty good. I just wanted to make a few quick comments. Number one, to that lady who called you and spoke, we got to stop falling for the hype, because one thing, and I'm going to say the billionaires, the millionaires, want to do is separate us. They want to get us looking at each other so they can, so as they say, the right hand won't know what the left hand's doing. While they're doing things to us, they have us turning against each other. And Jesus said to love your neighbor as yourself. So spite of you could dislike some of the things they do, but you still have to love that person. And number two, one thing I wanted to bring up is hopefully you could get a chance to ask these representatives, what are they doing to get the black vote? What are they fighting for? And what are they going to do to challenge the voter suppression that's going on? How people are being taken off the voting rolls. The only one I really hear is doing something, and I know you're more knowledgeable about who's doing what than I am, Stacey Abrams. Where, I'm hoping to see more Stacey Abrams out here that are doing things that are, registering people to vote and get people to understand if you haven't voted in a year or maybe 6 months, you need to look and make sure you're not taken off the voter rolls. Another thing that I want looked at is I hope they start looking at many of the things that Donald Trump is saying, because he's causing divisiveness. It's not white, black. He's just saying the left. At that funeral, when that lady spoke, and I'm no fan of Charlie Kirk by any means. I think he was vile. But when that lady spoke, he came out and said, I hate the left. Yeah. What kind of statement is that? Why can he get away with making statements like that? But then you, for example, if you say the least little thing, everybody wants to jump on you, and all of a sudden it's big news. But he can make a statement like that, and there's barely a whisper. And so-called, and I call them so-called Christians, that come out, and again, I think I said it to you before. Jesus said, when you were hungry, you fed me.
Mm-hmm.
And the bottom line is, as I heard a guy on YouTube say, Jesus was an immigrant when he went to Egypt. So how would you treat Jesus today? And I guess most of these people would say, hey, you're here illegally. Get out the country. But we got to stop looking at each other, because that's one way they always get away with everything they want to do. They have us looking at each other, blaming each other for the little things. And just like Mamdani, you're not going to agree with everything he's for, but I bet you he'll do a lot more good things than a lot of these other ones out here. So we need to stop trying to fight him so much as be aware of these Republicans that are running for office, because they're about money more so than they are about people. That's all they care about. I kind of don't understand, if you're a billionaire, what are you going to buy, or what are you going to do with another $1 billion you can't do already? I just don't understand it. That's all I wanted to say. Hello?
I'm here. I was reading bulletin report that there's some upgraded petitions, if I'm reading this correctly, that Tish James lawyers are now putting into the court to try and get the charges dropped. I'll dig more into it and come back to that. But I think what you were saying, your exhale, is correct. I think that we need to adjust, that people that may think different and behave different, as long as they're not imposing that on us, that we should not deal with that. I grew up in the Church of God in Christ, Reverend Marshall, which was totally against homosexuality. We didn't even talk about trans back then. and was totally against even second marriages. And I had a more open view, even as a boy preacher, because my sister was gay, who I lived with, me, my sister, and my mother. So it was personal to me. Whether I agreed with it or not, I did not want my sister not to be able to go to certain schools or colleges or get certain things in society because she was gay. And I think that that's where the divide is when people want to make what they believe the law. And when you do, you open up the door for others to make it illegal for you, because that's how they feel. And if they're in the majority, look at the shutdown. They can vote us back into slavery if they want. If we start legalizing your feelings can rob people of whatever life they are.
Absolutely. I think you hit it on the head. I think all of us have preferences, biases, and what we staunchly believe, whether it derives from your religious or cultural upbringing. But I think it is absolutely correct. We must understand that our worldview is not just us in our own world, but there are those, or a segment of people who believe the exact opposite of us, and some of that is what we're seeing in this political climate in America.
I remember when I was growing up, they used to say in my church it was a sin for a woman to wear pants.
Right.
I mean, and they enforced that in the church. And then later I saw some of the same women, as culture changed, wearing pants. And I told my mother they're going to hell, and she said, no, that's a personal opinion. So, I mean, I think we've got to be careful not to lock ourselves into situations and make them law. You had the right to feel a certain way and right to tell them that, but you don't have the right to walk around making that the legal limitations. And that's what I think is happening too often. Let's take a break. I'll be right back. A lot of callers. I'm coming to everybody. It's Exhale Friday. Sharpton, keeping it real. Be right back.
Country, talking to the radio announcers, the church people and the street people, telling them that God has smiled on me. God has smiled on you if you got breath in your body, if He woke you up this morning and started you on your way. But I want to tell you some stories of people that God smiled on. We know the story of Dr. Martin Luther King, how he started way back in Montgomery, Alabama in 1955, trying just to get dignity, trying to get respect. And he went all the way to the mountaintop. But he didn't forget about the brothers in the valley. He didn't forget about those trapped in the alley. And I hear Brother Martin King say, God has smiled on me. He's been good to me. Let me tell you, God has smiled on me. It's been so good to me. Then I see as Dr. King went on, another man stepping to the forefront by the name of John F. Kennedy, who rose up and said, let's not stand back. Let's not wait for a handout. Let's wait for a way out. He said, ask not what your country can do for you, but what you can do for your country. He said, don't us gravel and don't us moan, because God doesn't smile on us. Let me say it. God has smiled on me. He has set me free. a man come out. They call him the King of Soul, James Brown. And James Brown said, Reverend, don't you worry. I started out as a shoe shine boy. I started out as a convict. I started out uneducated. But I learned to sing my song, and I sung it all over the world. I told him it was a man's world. I told him about the big payback. I told him Papa got a brand new bag. And all over the world, they can hear my voice. But Reverend, don't you frown. Don't you bow your head. Tell them what you told me, Brother Brown. And she said, son, even though we don't have much, we don't need relief. All we need is belief. And she said, he didn't tell you no lie, because the Lord will take care of you. God sits high, but he looks down low. And every time you get discouraged, every time you're burning down, all you have to do is think of the things that God made a way for you and look toward the heavens. Lift your eyes to the hills and say, God, 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 don't smile on me. Now then the God has smiled on me. He has set me free. God has smiled on me. That has been so good to me. Yes, he has. I say God smiled on me. He has set me free. And I know all over the country, smile on me. We need jobs. We need a way to make it. We need help. We need jobs. We need a way to make some money to feed our families and raise our bread. We need a way to survive, so we don't need crime as a survival kit. We just need a little bit. But don't give the hope up. Don't lose the faith, because God will smile on you. God will give you the strength. God will make a way for you. Adam Great Power said, keep the faith. Keep the faith, baby. I hear Robert Kennedy saying that it's not the dream of, but it's the dream that'll live on forever. Just know that God will smile on you. Dr. King had a dream. Dr. King said, I went to the mountaintop, but I didn't stop there. I looked over and saw the promised land. I hear Brother Malcolm saying, don't sit on the stoop. Stand up and be a man. Respect yourself. Be somebody. Then I hear the brothers in the Hispanic community say, I'm going to stand up and be a man. I'm going to do the best I can. I had a reaper say, I don't care what time you come home, but just give me some respect when you get there. Now God has smiled on me. He has set me free. God smiled on me. You've been so good to me. Sit down. And as we move on in history, let us remember that if we look to God, God has the answer to all of our problems. God is still the same God he was years ago, and we can still make it. We can still hold on like Frederick Douglass did. We can still keep him on like Martin Luther King did. We can still ride on the way everyone that made it did. They didn't have much, but they had a whole lot of faith. They didn't have money, but they had a lot of determination. We know that God will look out for his children, that God will make a way out of no way. If you just keep the faith and refuse to lose, and God will make a way, because God's children don't have color. God's children just have will. And I can still hear somewhere in my mind James Brown say, God has smiled on me. He has set me free. Let me say that.
Many people cannot focus because they have not really come to terms with their calling and life purpose. In order to focus, you must also be clear on what you're focusing on. So if you're not clear on your purpose, if you're not clear on your life's calling, then focus on seeking that. Because if you just read the ways and roads you traveled that you didn't even choose, that were sort of just laid out for you by God. In that, it's telling you, speaking to you about what your purpose is and what you were born to do and be. I learned the things that I didn't plan had to be planned by God, and God's plan was directed toward God's purpose in my life. And I focus on that. Not focus on what others do, not focus on how well they're doing or bad they're doing, but focus on whether I'm in line and aligned with what I'm supposed to be about. And in order to move straight ahead, you have to be focused on the path you're running on. Senior Advisor Nan, Reverend Stephen Marshall, sitting in with me this hour. Let me read from the message board. James Thomas is saying, it just boggles. I'm trying to get it, y'all move it while I'm talking. You miss it. Okay. It just boggles my mind to see how people can vote against their own interests and yet complain about it. Yeah, it is kind of mind-boggling, James. They voted for it, and now they're upset with it. I think you raised a great, great, great point. And Ken Washington saying, good afternoon, everybody. Good afternoon, Reverend Al Sharpton. And let's go to the phone. Let me see which lightning rod's on his mind today. Lightning rod, you keeping it real with Sharpton Marshall on XL Friday.
What's good, Reverend Al Sharpton? How you doing, brother?
I'm doing very
Uncle,
well.
cousin, brother. Yeah, I feel like I'm related to you, man, politically, man. You know, we go back and forth, you know what I'm saying? But let me say this, Reverend Al. I am bringing 1,000,000% energizing power to truth. 1,000,000% energizing power to truth. So I wanted to talk about Kamala Harris, and then first let me talk about Trump and Kwame Kilpatrick. Shout out to the greatest hip-hop mayor, Mayor Kwame Kilpatrick. Now, the point was, Rev, 2 days ago when we spoke, I think I didn't make the point clear. Even though Donald Trump does some things wrong, majority of things wrong, he can be reasoned with somehow, some way, because he did free Kwame Kilpatrick. So he can be reasoned with. The right people, like you and your team and your people, Obama and them. So somehow, some way, we have to, of course, keep going against him, but we have to be able to try to reason with this man, too, because he has some sense. If you free Kwame, the greatest hip-hop mayor of all time, I'm all for that. Now, let me get to Kamala Harris, Rev. What do people not understand? What is it that she doesn't understand and African-American people do not understand? They will have an African-American woman become president before a white woman. Not me, them. Because you got so many low-key bigots and racists, even in white women. They're not going to vote this woman in before the white woman. So I would like to see her not pursue that. But if she does, she just needs to know she's going to have to hold off probably for about another 6 or 7 years, because the proof is in the pudding. The writing is on the wall. If you got nothing but white males who've become president, they're just hungering for a white woman to become president first. So with that being said, Rev, I'm going to drop the mic, because that's a mic dropping.
All right, thank you for your call. Let me thank you for your call. Let me respond to that, and you can as well, Reverend Marshall. One, I think that there are those that may be able to reason with President Trump, and they ought to do that. I don't think that is my role and others' role who has been opposition people to him way before he was president. I marched on him. And he tried to be friendly later and then just didn't. He just, to me, is systemically wired in a bigoted way. But if there are those that can talk to him, as you say in the case of former Mayor Kwame Kilpatrick, I'm not opposed to that. Everybody got a role. That's not my role. And I think that people need to understand different lanes, different roles. When Obama was in, there were people that were in his cabinet and that headed different departments. That was their role, to help Obama do that. That wasn't my role. My role was what I do now, civil rights, radio and TV. And I supported him from those platforms. If I had questions, I would question it. And unfortunately, I had access where I could talk to him. I don't think you can talk to Donald Trump from my position or others' positions that have been critical of him. He's not demonstrated enough maturity to be able to deal with people like that. Lastly, whatever he does, from what I've gathered down through the years, is transactional. He does not do anything for anybody or take any stand. He ain't getting something out of it. And being that I'm not giving up nothing, there's no reason for him and I to have a conversation. As far as Kamala Harris needs to understand, they're not going to have a black woman president before a white woman president. I don't know that's certain. It sounds logical, but they were determined ever to have a black male president, and we did that. I don't think, Rod, that progress is determined by those that are in power. It's determined by those that are fighting to change the situation that's in power. If enough people got up and said we're going to have this black woman president, she'd be president. She got 75 million votes, more than most people that won for president ever got. So I don't think we need to have a situation of telling people what they can't do. I have one grandchild, Dominique's son, Marcus Al, 6 years old, going on 7 this December. I hope his generation do not think and accept the limitations my generation did. So I'm not one to tell people what can't happen, because you can make anything happen that you want to happen. My parents was both of them born in the segregated South, raised in the segregated laws. I was born in the North. I dreamed different and thought different than my parents because of my place in history was a little later and things were more accessible. So I don't know what they can and cannot have until it happens. Rev. Marshall?
I think you hit it on the head. First, the comment about, and obviously we respect the opinion. I think Brother Rod raised some good points. I think the whole piece around people able to talk to Trump, I think you are qualified to analyze and break down what you did. And I would just chalk it up to saying that I think it is appropriate for those who are able to talk to the president at the same time, but you must understand that you will have to likely compromise what you believe if you believe in anything at all.
Yeah.
The latter part of that around former Vice President Kamala Harris, I think that notion of limiting and or talking ourselves out of reaching the highest levels of any industry is disheartening to hear. Second, I think based on the same notion and example Brother Rod laid out, I think based on his scientific analysis around it should be a white woman first, well, you would have to explain to me how do we do Barack Obama twice. I think right after we did the black president male, I think based on that example, it would have been a white woman's turn to rise to the level of office of the President of the United States. So like you said, I think the power is in the voting box with the people.
They tried that, because right after Barack Obama, Hillary Clinton ran.
Exactly.
Got the nomination, and Trump beat her.
Yep.
That's how we got Trump won. Let's go to Janet in Maryland. Janet. Is Janet there?
Hello, everyone.
Hello.
Hi, yes. Hi, can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am.
Uh-oh. Oh, okay. Earlier today on another talk show, a gentleman was saying that he felt like Trump was going to put people having to be drafted into the Army again. And I told him, I don't believe that's going to happen. Not at all, because the people who he wants to fight are the ones that only want to fight people who can't shoot back. And they have to be of a certain skin color. So I don't think that he's going to get a regular army. He's going to try to stick with this paid army that he's got. And I have a bet going with my girlfriend that once they put this Palestine and Israel new peace thing out, I bet you Trump didn't write it. I bet you Israel, Netanyahu wrote that. And I want to see, we did step one. They look like they're doing step one. And see where it's going to break down. I don't believe Trump had his hands on it. One thing, the man can't spell. He can't do nothing but flicker and swipe and do all that stuff.
Janet, I'll cede your point and raise it. You don't believe he wrote it. I don't believe he read it. Let's take a break. Keeping it real. That's what I do. Sharpton, that's my name. Stephen Marshall with us today. Be right back. Keeping it real.
So who is Al Sharpton anyway? Who is this 33-year-old preacher without a church?
A number of black New Yorkers as well. He is little more than a pudgy exhibitionist who can be counted on to show up, bullhorn in hand, at every racial incident.
I often quote Mark Twain saying, the two most important moments in life is the moment you are born and the moment you find out why you were born. I had a very troubling conversation the other day that prompted me to do this little video. Young man that I've known a while came to me and he was crushed. I mean, really crushed, because people were criticizing his work. He's in the ministry, but he's also an actor. And he said he couldn't understand why people were jumping all over, criticizing him, trying to find scandalous and derogatory things about him. And I told him, I said, you know, you very young. You don't know the road I've traveled. They called me everything but a child of God.
A blabbermouth, a loudmouth, too flamboyant, an agitator, a racist,
I had to learn.
Yeah, right.
I was not defined by how others saw me. I was defined by how I saw myself and whether I was being true to myself. Some of you watching this don't like me. And it doesn't matter as long as I know what I'm doing. And I like me for being real. So I'm doing this video to say to you, whoever you are, and whatever you do, you may not be in ministry or social justice, none of this stuff, but don't live your life worried about opposition or people that don't like you. You can turn that around. Use me as an example. The same people that call me a scam artist, a con artist, a sellout, or racial hustler and all, I kept going. And the people I respected started respecting and publicly embracing my work.
When Coretta Scott King, the widow of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., had this to say about Al Sharpton.
A leader who has protested injustice with a passionate, unrelenting commitment to nonviolent action in the spirit and tradition of Martin Luther King Jr. And I am talking about your leader, our leader, the Reverend Al Sharpton.
The other thing that hasn't changed is the National Action Network's commitment to fight injustice and inequality here in New York City and across America. And that's not only a testament to Reverend Sharpton, it's a testament to all of you who are here tonight.
First and foremost, to Reverend Sharpton. I saw him when he first came on the scene, and I have marveled at his tenacity, at the development of his intellect, and his devotion to our movement, and much he has contributed to the world we are experiencing. I am honored, and I must say that when I had my debate with Dr. King on the issue of the church and religion, he didn't warn me that after his departure, his space would be filled by another preacher, and that preacher would be Al Sharpton.
All you want in life is people that matter to you to say you did all right. And more important, that you can look in the mirror and say you did all right.
Thank you, Rev. Thanks for that introduction. Look, we've known each other for a long time. I'm grateful not only for your leadership and partnership, but quite frankly, more importantly, for your friendship. And thanks to all of you, members of our nation's most important civil rights organization.
You have been, over all of your years, such an extraordinary leader. You are a voice of truth, a voice of conscience, a voice of practicality around what we must address and what we can do. And I thank you so much for your friendship.
I remember that most of the youth around Al's age, he was about 12, wanted to be like Connie Hawkins, a great basketball player, legend, or Earl the Pearl, or Clyde Frazier. Al wanted to be like Adam Powell, a powerful preacher with a social justice gospel. He was very close to, at that time, the Reverend William Augustus Jones, powerful preacher and social justice advocate, and Reverend Gardner Taylor stayed right down the street, and Bishop Washington, whose church he came from, and Reverend Sandy Ray. He wanted to be like these giant preachers. He wanted them to have the edge, however, of the King's social justice dimension. He wanted to be like them, now he's one of them. Perhaps taller than most of them because of the risks he has taken and the reward God has given him with his gift. I remember so well that I first escorted him to jail. He was around 13 years old, with the jail fighting the ANP. He was in the lineage of our struggle. He grew up in it. We didn't just see him on TV one night. He didn't happen. He came bottom up, not top down.
Every step I take, you will be there. Every little step I make, we'll be together. Every little step I take, you will be there. Every little step I make, we'll be together. Every little step I take.
Whew. Thank you so much. I was thinking I was going to prepare a speech, but I can't read those things anymore. Name's Babyface, not Baby Body. But I wanted to, you made me sound so good with those.
So let's go right back to the phones. Reverend Stephen Marshall sitting in with me this hour. Let me again give you by announcements. Don't you forget. Watch Politics Nation both nights this weekend, Saturday and Sunday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time. I'm going to have on leaders of the Senate and the Congress about the shutdown, what it means, what needs to happen, what you can do at home. Certainly going to be talking about the political vengeance of Donald Trump with the indictment of Tish James. We'll have the chair of the Congressional Black Caucus, who is very close with Tish James. I'm going to have her on the show. I'm going to also deal with the ceasefire in the Middle East some experts on foreign affairs that's been up in this saying what this is and what it is not. So don't miss Politics Nation with Al Sharpton, both days, 5 p.m. Eastern Time on MSNBC. And I tell y'all something. A lot of people watch. I get the ratings. We do very well. And every once in a while, I get reminded President Trump watched. He tweeted last week. He had a fit on me last week. And just help me with the ratings. Keep watching, Mr. President. Also, you that are in the New York, New Jersey, Connecticut vicinity, meet me or beat me to the Saturday Action Rally in the morning. And I'm steamed up already now for what I want to talk about in the morning. Make sure you're there tomorrow. We've got to deal with this shutdown. We have to deal with the Tish James issue. We have to deal with what's going on in the Middle East. But we cannot forget the voting disenfranchisement, these redistricting. They tried to throw so much at you. They tried to flood the zone is the term they use, and hope that if so much is coming at you, you can't handle it. I can handle it. You can handle it. And I'll be dealing with it in the morning. So make sure you come Saturday morning, tomorrow morning at the House of Justice, 145th and Lenox Avenue. You that are not in the New York, New Jersey, Connecticut area, you can watch it live on Impact Television, or you can go right to live stream at nationalactionnetwork.net. All right, let me go to Bestie in Connecticut. You're keeping it real with Al Sharpton.
Hey, good afternoon, Reverend. How you doing?
I'm doing very well.
Okay, so I wanted to ask you your opinion on just maybe 2 questions or 3. I wanted to know, both of us spent our lives as Democrats, you a lifetime, and myself being a Generation X. I'm 59. Do you think that the Democratic Party has been effective for our people or not so effective?
When you say our people, you mean black people?
I'm sorry, yes.
Okay. I think that the Democratic Party has been more effective for us than the Republicans. I don't think they've been as effective as they could or should be. But I think since we have 2 major parties in this country in my lifetime, Republican and Democrat, I think the Democrat has done far more than the Republicans, but I think they could have done far more.
Okay, because I asked that question because understanding and looking at business statistics for our people, I'm just trying to understand the statistics with business ownership, and maybe I'm viewing it from a very different perspective. But as far as business ownerships in the United States as of 2025, we have statistics have it at 81%, 0.1% of white people own businesses. 11.1% of Asians own businesses as of 2025, and Black or African American, 3.3% own businesses.
Okay.
From a just looking at those statistics, do you see that as lack of our people's interest in opening businesses, or racism where they're capped at not being able to open more businesses? And if we're in the Democratic Party, how could this be when we've predominantly for years had the House and the Senate?
Well, I think. Well, what years did they have the House and the Senate? They only had it a few times. But I think, first of all,
that some of it is our initiative in our community, that we've had to get our people out of just wanting a job and wanting to build businesses. And secondly, how we deal with supporting the businesses that we do own and making sure that they can do business in a business environment. So let me give you an example. The reason why I say that the Democrats could do more, but the Republicans have not done as much, and I think in some cases have done worse. First thing Donald Trump did when he got in this time is say we're going to end all DEI programs in the private sector, diversity, equity, and inclusion. And major corporations said we got to do what the president said. And they stopped contracts with black-owned businesses. So you're talking about a statistic of 3 point. It's going to be lower than that next year. Because I literally know businesses that went out of business because they lost their contracts, because their contracts was through DEI that Democrats had put in. So I think that, again, I'm going by your basic call about the Democrats and Republicans. They have outlawed us being able to use DEI to get more business loans and banks to get capital. When you're dealing in a climate where we can't get capital, you can't go in business without capital. And you can't survive in business if you're in a situation. If you got a store in Connecticut and you're saying that I want to be able to advance certain product to sell in my store, and they say, okay, fine, we realize there's been bias against you for years as a community. We're going to give you a line of credit. You can start your store. We're going to fill your store. And then DEI, Trump comes in and kills DEI. They have to kill your line of credit. You out of business. Hello?
But, okay, no, but, okay, my view of that, I agree with you, from a lot of perspective. But then I always question, because, I'm in a democratic state, and that has not always been the case. It's like, well, when I'm looking at most of our people live in democratic states, if you want to keep it a buck, most of the major inner cities are Democratic. And if they're Democratic, then I just, it's hard to blame it on the Trump administration, because we've been Democratic cities.
Yeah, but I think you're making you're making a false comparison. I'm blaming on the Trump administration what the Trump administration did. I'm not saying that the Democrats shouldn't do more. I'm saying that the little that the Democrats did where they should have done more, Trump has taken that away. That's what I'm trying to get you to see. Yes, you're absolutely right that we should get more in these cities. But the answer is not to put in somebody that's going to take away the little we got. He has made it law that we cannot have diversity in contracts anymore. They took law to take the first black woman president of Harvard University out, saying it was diversity. And they're trying to end diversity programs on college campuses. There is a difference in saying that I'm with a party that I think is doing too little and should do more, and in saying I'm with a party that is doing things against me. He's not even being neutral. He's doing against us. To end DEI is to attack us. And that's what he's done.
Okay, so I please bear with me. And I understand that I'm 59, Miss Happiness Donuts. But what I'm saying, I'm looking at it from a real reality check.
Well, wait a minute. Are you saying what I'm saying ain't reality? Question.
Well,
did Donald Trump institute stopping DEI? Yes or no?
Yes, sir. But
so
I'm talking about
that hurt us.
The Trump administration, the numbers were still down, even when.
Yeah, but they're going to be worse now. They're going to be worse now.
I understand they're going to be worse.
Well, then what are we arguing about? Then we agree. Then we agree.
But no. That's not what I'm saying, Reverend Sharpton. I'm not going to put this all on Trump.
I'm going to put on
yes,
Trump.
He has that
I'm going to put on Trump what
Trump did. You can't do that when the Democrats haven't done anything for us
it's
for
a false
over 30
comparison.
years.
First of all, the Democrats ain't been in over 30-some years. You had Bush, Daddy. Wait, slow down.
They have
slow
not
down.
done anything
slow
for
down.
Our communities.
Well, if you just want to get locked into that, then there's nothing I could say. The facts speak for itself. The Democrats should do much more. The Republicans have, under Trump, twice now, declared war on us. There is a difference in me saying to somebody that I'm hungry, I want something to eat, and one guy say, I'm just going to give you a piece of meat and not a full meal, and another guy say, I'm going to kick the table over and you ain't eating nothing. And you telling me to thank the guy that kicked the table over because the other guy didn't give me more than one slice of meat? I'm telling you, I'll take the slice of meat and keep fighting him to get the rest of the meal before I deal with the guy that kicked the table over and give me nothing. And I think you will not admit to yourself, Trump is saying, you think you didn't get nothing from them? You ain't getting nothing at all now. And I'm going to make it against the law for you to get anything. That's what you got to understand. Thank you for your call. Let me take a break. We'll be right back. Let me thank Reverend Stephen Marshall for sitting with me this hour. We'll be right back after this. Keeping it real. Sharpton. Be right back.
No justice! No justice! 62 years ago today, Martin marched in Washington. 62 years later, the dream is not dead.
I'm here because I must be here. Democracy is not there for the pig, and you have to fight for democracy. That's what it is. What Trump will erase, we will replace.
It's the dreamers in many cases have reversed and tried to turn it into a nightmare. We come to Wall Street rather than Washington this year to let them know you can try to turn back the clock, but you can't turn back time. We gonna keep the dream alive on Wall Street.
All over the world today, people are gathered in love vigils to celebrate the life of a man that taught the world how to love. People may be wondering why there's such an emotional outburst, but you would have to understand the journey of Michael to understand what he meant to all of us. For these that sit here as the Jackson family, a mother and father with 9 children that rose from a working class family in Gary, Indiana. They had nothing but a dream. No one believed in those days that these kind of dreams could come true. But they kept on believing, and Michael never let the world turn him around from his dreams. I first met Michael around 1970, Black Expo, Chicago, Illinois, Reverend Jesse Jackson, who stood by this family till now. And from that day as a cute kid to this moment, he never gave up dreaming. It was that dream that changed culture all over the world. When Michael started, it was a different world. But because Michael kept going, because he didn't accept limitations, because he refused to let people decide his boundaries, he opened up the whole world. In the music world, he put on one glove, pulled his pants up, and broke down the color curtain, where now our videos are shown and magazines put us on the cover. It was Michael Jackson that brought blacks and whites and Asians and Latinos together. It was Michael Jackson that made us sing "We Are the World" and feed the hungry long before Live Aid.
because Michael Jackson kept going. He created a comfort level where people that felt they were separate became interconnected with his music. And it was that comfort level that kids from Japan and Ghana and France and Iowa and Pennsylvania got comfortable enough with each other to later it wasn't strange to us to watch Oprah on television. It wasn't strange to watch Tiger Woods golf. Those young kids grew up from being teenage, comfortable fans of Michael to being 40 years old and being comfortable to vote for a person of color to be the president of the United States of America. Michael did that. Michael made us love each other. Michael taught us to stand with each other. There are those that like to dig around mess, but millions around the world, we're going to uphold his message. It's not about mess, it's about his love message. As you climb up steep mountains, sometimes you scar your knee, sometimes you break your skin, but don't focus on the scars, focus on the journey. Michael beat him. Michael rose to the top. He outsang his cynics. He outdanced his doubters. He outperformed the pessimists. Every time he got knocked down, he got back up. Every time you counted him out, he came back in. Michael never stopped. Michael never stopped. Michael never stopped. I want to say to Mrs. Jackson and Joe Jackson, his sisters and brothers, we thank you for giving us someone that taught us love, someone that taught us hope. We want to thank you because we know it was your dream too. And we know that your heart is broken. I know you have some comfort from the letter from the President of the United States and Nelson Mandela, but this was your child. This was your brother. This was your cousin. Nothing will fill your heart's loss. But I hope the love that people are showing will make you know he didn't live in vain. And I want his 3 children to know, wasn't nothing strange about your daddy. It was strange what your daddy had to deal with. But he dealt with it. He dealt with it anyway. He dealt with it for us. So some came today, Mrs. Jackson, to say goodbye to Michael. I came to say thank you. Thank you because you never stopped. Thank you because you never gave up. Thank you because you never gave out. Thank you because you tore down our divisions. Thank you because you eradicated barriers. Thank you because you gave us hope. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Michael. Thank you, Michael. Do I seem excited? I am excited because this Saturday, the National Action Network Saturday Action Rally starts live on WBLS 107.5 FM in New York. We're going to expand. Every Saturday morning, we're live on WBLS 107.5 from 10 a.m. to 11. You'll hear the message. You'll feel the energy. You'll be involved. You won't be sitting around talking about, oh my God, look at what's happening. You'll be involved in dealing with what's happening. I'm excited, and you should be excited to turn on WBLS 10 a.m. every Saturday morning. I have a message for you, and if you want to, you can come to the House of Justice and be there live, 145th Street and Lenox Avenue. We kick off at 9, and we don't stop until we deal with getting our people energized.
The Reverend Al Sharpton.
You live, Rev.
Keeping it real. Keeping it real. I'm your host, Reverend Al Sharpton, and we're back. 1-877-532-5797. 1-877-532-5797. Twitter.com, The Rev Al, or go to our message page at nationalactionnetwork.net and go to live stream to our message page. We're joined, as we are every Friday, to end for the last Keeping It Real show of the week, by the senior pastor of the King Solomon, historic King Solomon Baptist Church of Detroit, Michigan, and head of national expansion, and the Michigan State Chair of National Action Network, Reverend Charles Williams. How you doing, Reverend?
All is well, Rev. All is well, and it's always good to be with you. You know, Rev, as I exhale this week, we saw New York Attorney General Lydia James. She was indicted with mortgage fraud. I mean, this is where we're going. A move that critics are calling political retribution. And, you know, quite honestly, the president has made it clear that he has no qualms about his antics, and as well as what he does to his enemies. You know, it affects agencies like the Department of Justice, where we used to go for justice, but now we can expect that justice is only going to be one way. If there was ever any time, Rev, and I excel every week, that we needed folks to get involved in this movement, National Action Network placed the largest march we saw since the presidential campaign, and standing strong with our head held high and on that, and as a march on Wall Street. If there was ever any time to not just excel in our words, but excel in our actions together, it would be now. So I want to encourage folks to join us as we watch Letitia James, as we watch the government shut down, and get into the action. Go with us, nationalactionnetwork.net, as we continue to keep this movement moving forward.
Let's go back to the phone. Let's go to Raj in Cleveland, Ohio, WERE. Raj.
Hey, Reverend Al, how you doing?
I'm doing very well. How are you?
All right, thanks for taking my call. You know, that caller that was on the line when you were explaining the example about the piece of meat. See, not only the Republicans don't want to give you that, they call you beggars and socialists and all kind of other names and tell you, you know, you need to pull yourself up by your bootstraps just for that one piece of meat.
Right.
And not only that, the Democrats, he said, well, they don't do much for, you know, left or blacks, as he was saying, really saying. Well, most of the time, what they do, they have to get through negotiating with the party that doesn't want to give you nothing. That, like you said, want to kick the table over and give you nothing. So, if the Democrats, perfect example, Obama, he said he wanted to tax all those to make the, you know, when he was first established in Obamacare, okay, the Affordable Care Act.
Right.
He said he wanted to tax all those that makes over $400,000 a year. The Republicans talked down, and he said, well, okay, I'll just make it $100,000 a year. And then they said, no, that's still too much. Because what they were looking at is that's code signaling for him attacking the wealthy because they don't want to pay their fair share of taxes. And then they walked it down. I think he tried to get it down to maybe about 60 or 40,000. It kept coming down until the Republicans walked it down, all the way down to, I think, $20,000. If you make it $20,000, I think, a year. Well, it was just enough where if you made minimum wage working 40 hours a week, which is the average poor person, that was the poverty level, okay, you had to pay the tax on it or pay into it. So basically, the Republicans flipped it to where they were doing attacking, and they were attacking the working poor, and the majority of the people in this country that was without health care coverage were African Americans.
Right.
So they just flipped it back on us. Okay, and then you had the caller that said how much more, he asked the question, how much more can the billionaires buy? They have everything. Well, you know, I used to think that way too, but it's not about that with the billionaires. What they want is total control.
Yeah.
And they also attack the poor. And this is stemming from the way I see it, from World War II. And Hitler's generals, they determined they were not going to be able to win the war on the battlefield against Americans, and they couldn't get Hitler to see it, so they just came up with their own approach. They said the only way you can defeat America is through economics and politics. So they infiltrated our body politic and various organizations in America, and they also had corporate allies here in America, and then so they just want to, instead of, you know, people think of war like dropping bombs and all that, people dying. No, they could just restrict and corral all of the resources, make sure you don't get them, and they do it through.
Well, see, but that was my point. Thank you for your call. Y'all got to get to y'all's points so I can get other callers. But my point was, Reverend Williams, with the caller he was referring to, is that we, like anybody else in politics, make choices. And the fact that most blacks in the last 25 years, I guess, or longer, have chose Democrats is not because they're stupid. It's because they're not stupid. They saw they got some things out of Democrats, and they got not only didn't get anything out of Republicans, the Republicans fought the things we did have. They wanted to overturn voting rights, which they're still trying to do now with redistricting. They tried to end affirmative action and DEI. So I think some people just get stuck in their head. Why are we with the Democrats? Because like anybody else in politics, we are with the ones we can get the most out of. And we need to push them to do more. But what I don't understand is how some of us say, I'm not going to go with those that give me a little bit. I'm going to go with those that are against me totally and tell me they ain't going to do nothing for me. Because that's what Trump done told. Trump said, forget DI, forget black studies, forget black contractors. And so that ain't the alternative. I can see an argument for independent parties more than I can see an argument for saying, I'm going with somebody that don't even want you.
Rev, no, you're absolutely right. I mean, I think that's what I think many of us have been saying all along. Folks will sit up here and try to tell you Democrat, Democrat, Democrat. Well, what options do we have? Because everything that we have gotten, from Social Security to Medicare to voting rights to affirmative action to opportunity and access in jobs and in contracting, come from the Democrat side. Yet have we, any of us, seen anything that has come from the Republican side that we can say, oh, well, we can herald this? Have there been some, what some people consider to be social or moral issues that folks have felt more comfortable with? Yeah, they have. But outside of that, when it comes to access opportunity in my pocketbook, it has been every single time on the Democrat side.
Yeah, but I think the other side of that, when they come with the moral issues, it's very hard for me to understand how you can raise morality in the Republican Party and elect a president that has been convicted of sexual harassment. And a film put out of him saying just grab a woman by her privates, and I'm cleaning it up.
Right.
And has been convicted of 34 felonies. So you can't bring morality to the table. Now, come on. I mean, I ain't talking about my opinion. He was convicted in a court of law. I'm not talking about imagination. We all saw the tape of what he thought of women. So, and y'all made him the head of the Republican Party and the president of the United States twice. So let's not talk about morality. Let's take a break. Be right back. Keepin' it real. Sharpton. That's right. Williams. Be right back.
And I think that is extremely important about the funding. But I also want to add how they're changing what can be taught. You have states outright saying you can't teach black history and you can't teach certain other histories and the curriculum. You have this administration that is literally taking out exhibits from the Smithsonian. So we have not only an education problem in terms of resources, we have an education problem in terms of curriculum and what people are being taught. So I have one grandchild, 6-year-old. When he gets to high school, it may be just against the law for him to learn about certain parts of American history, which includes blacks. We want to talk about slavery. We want to talk about the good side of America. Well, what does that mean? That's not history. Everything was not good. And I think that that is the threat that we've got to fight, which is why we've got to fight in the courts and the streets, because they're literally changing the textbooks as we go. As they do that, they change the opportunities, because then the fight against affirmative action is not having access to these institutions and telling these institutions, this whole fight around DEI, in which they made DEI, started at Harvard with a black woman president. Started with them saying you can't teach diversity in an Ivy League school like Harvard. It didn't start in Little Rock at the high school. This fight, this time, was Harvard. And they went from there on. And I think that we've got to have the same resistance. If they could fight in the 50s, the ACP people would come together and deal with the question from Little Rock in terms of desegregation. Then we that are far more educated, far more economically secure personally, have no excuse in the age of what they did in Harvard not to be standing up back in this stuff. Some of you forget where you come from and forget how you got there and act like you got there because you were qualified or that you had a good resume. But some of us had to pay a price for your resume to even be read. Some of us had to take nights in jails and licks upside the head or shut out of boardrooms like Byron so you could walk down red carpets and act like you got there by yourself. So I received this award with a special, special place in my heart and on my shelf because I'm getting it from a freedom fighter who never forgot where he came from and how he got there. Yes, we've come a long way. We've had now a black president and now a black vice president, but we still can get shot down and have to march to get a case in court. We still can get shut out of boardrooms. We're still doubly unemployed in a good economy. So we're gonna have to keep marching. And I thank not only my family, a mother that raised me by herself, but I thank that lady at the end of the march that knows she won't be on TV that night and knows her name will never be in the paper, but she believed in me enough to get at the end of the line and make me look good. Because Dr. King used to say, if you call a march and no one shows up, you just going for a walk. And I want to thank those that marched with me. 32 years ago, here in Los Angeles, we marched. And then many years later, with George Floyd and others, we're still marching. And I'm gonna keep marching, I'm gonna keep agitating, and I'm gonna keep going. Until we don't have to do it anymore. Eddie, known you a long time, Mariah, Chris, and your kids. And I promise you this, the only thing that I really live for is I get up with this dream that every bigot, every racist, everyone in this country that hates will say, damn, he's up again. Thing past hope, because, I grew up, like I said, single mama on welfare. And my mother told me there's a part in life that hope's gonna run out. But she told me you got a double barrel in your engine. I said, what is that? She said, you can switch from hope to faith. Faith is a little deeper than hope. Bishop Hilly is here. Faith is when hope runs out. Faith is the substance of things. Hope for the evidence of things not seen. Faith is when we were emancipated after 246 years of slavery and walked off the plantations with no education, no money, no future. And we built black churches and black colleges and black fraternities. We had faith. Faith made us stand up to the most powerful nation in the world and turn it around. Faith means we went from the back of the bus to the front of the White House. We come this far by faith, leaning on the Lord, trusting in His holy word. He never failed us yet. Some people report the news, others interpret it, but there are those who transform it into truth. Ari Melba has redefined journalism with intellect, creativity, and courage. He blends culture and current events, politics and poetry, truth and transparency. And in doing so, he reminds us that storytelling is a sacred work. Ari understands that our narratives shape our nation, and he has used his platform to highlight issues that matter to the people, not just to the powerful. Tonight we honor him for bridging art and activism, for using his voice to educate, inspire, and empower. Join me, please, in celebrating Ari Melba, recipient of the President's Award of Historic Transformative Leadership.
Good evening. Thanks for having me. How are you guys doing? First of all, Babyface is 67 years old. We might need a fact check on that. What an honor to be up here with Rev and everyone else. When Rev started out, they said, he's just doing this to get on TV. Now he has a TV show. He kept along and they said, well, he's just setting himself up to run for office, be a politician. Now he has the politicians coming here to be accountable to you. We're celebrating his 71st birthday, God bless. I don't think he's planning to run for office in his late 70s or 80s, although people do that nowadays. I don't know if you've heard. So as far as I can tell, maybe he was doing it for the people. Maybe he was doing it for voting rights and human rights and being an advocate for people in communities where when bad things do happen, they don't have a local advocate or a federal advocate, or suddenly it doesn't feel like they have anyone who cares about what's happening to them. So it's funny, in the middle you can't always prove the case, but by this stage in his illustrious contributions to the United States, he's doing it for everyone. So shout out to Rev. I'm really honored to get this award. My grandmother was a refugee. My father's an immigrant. Like a lot of other people that I get to interact with, I'm very aware that my worst days are better than some of their best days. And so I keep that in mind, and I know Rev does and a lot of other people do. This award was called Leadership in the Arts. I'm honored by it. I love the arts. I won't say whether I've ascended to being a leader in the arts, but I will share with you.
Keeping it real, keeping it real. I'm your host, Reverend Al Sharpton, Reverend Charles Williams, co-host our last hour for the week. And let's go right back to exhale, let people get out whatever's on their mind, whatever is in their heart. Be mindful of the board is full, so say what you need to say and let me go on to the next call before we run out of time for this show this week. Let me go to Miss Richardson, my friend in Chevy Chase, Maryland. Miss Richardson.
Yes, good afternoon, Al, Reverend Al.
Good afternoon.
Yeah, you know, Reverend, I believe you did tell your audience, our audience, you are for term limits. Because if that's the case, I agree with you. Because, see, I heard CNN earlier and C-SPAN, you know, they're on FM. Anyway, I listen to them too because we got to get both sides. Now, what they're saying is that Chuck Schumer has been in Congress for more than 44 years. Now, I think it's time for him to step down as well because our community is raving about one of their own, because that's the way we do. We'll stab our own people in the back before we look at the Anglo-Saxon community. We're afraid of them, you see. They want to remove Eleanor Holmes Norton, who has done an outstanding job. And I want to say to Eleanor, if she's listening, dear sister, you hang in there. Don't be frightened off by a bunch of men, mostly men, running their mouths for her to step down. I'd like to see some of these black men open their mouths up and go after these Anglo-Saxons, such as Chuck Schumer, that the black community even had a falling out with earlier this year of some stupid things he did backwards. So, you know, his mind is going. Let's look at some of the Anglos, black men.
But isn't Eleanor Holmes Norton way older than Chuck Schumer? How are we going to tell Chuck Schumer to retire and not tell her to retire?
Well, I mean, I don't think it's age because she's not showing any mental disparity. I don't see any disparity from her mental state. She seems to know, Reverend, what she's doing. But
I'm
Chuck
saying,
Schumer,
no. What I'm saying is that
if you make it based on terms and age, you can't say leave Eleanor Holmes Norton alone, but have a limit on Schumer if you're basing it on on term limits. It'd go for everybody.
Well, okay then. Well, if it has to be even across the board to her, because see, she's been trying to make Washington D.C. a state, Reverend.
Oh yeah, for
and
years.
we have to understand. Yeah, see, we have to understand the stress factor that goes into that. Chuck Schumer gets a nice paycheck. And what the CNN and C-SPAN is saying, these illegal, undocumented workers that a lot of these Democrats are for, I don't know where Democrats as a whole are at. I'm not saying you is in it, but, I don't know where you stand on it. But I don't see how Black Democrats particularly, who is always coming to the aid of Spanish and Mexicans, and never coming to the aid of the Sudanians that's being killed in Africa, and then the thing of it, they are for these people to get, this.
Well, let me say this. Let me say this, because we got a lot of callers. I agree with you that we ought to be standing up for Sudan. I even went to Sudan. I agree we should stand up for Mali. We should be standing up for Haiti. But I also agree we need to be standing up for Latinos and others. You cannot segregate your concern. I also accept what you're saying about Eleanor Holmes Norton, but I think that Schumer has been given a bad rap. Schumer is not the problem. We have the guy Thune in there now that is the majority leader, and before him, the Kentucky senator that was the majority leader, McConnell, for years, did much more damage than Chuck Schumer. I'd take Chuck Schumer any day over both of them put together. But thank you for your call. Let me go to Raj in Cleveland, Ohio. Raj. Is Raj there? All right, let me go to Jihad, the sage of the South in Atlanta, Georgia. Raj. I'm sorry, Jihad.
That's all right. I'll talk real fast with her now. I love the lady that just got off the phone a little bit. But, the blanket, all of us, we got to change this language I told you about before. All blacks don't sell blacks out. Some blacks sell some blacks out.
Mm-hmm.
All blacks don't betray their people. Some blacks. And when we say we always do that, that's what we do. No, we all don't do that. We all don't do the negative.
That's right.
There's a vast majority of us that do the positive. And so the statement will be more effective and more true if you just say some blacks, or if you know the ones that do that, point them out.
Right.
But don't lump us all in a group that we betray each other. That's what we do. We just betray it. We don't support it. No, some don't support, or give numbers to it.
Right.
Some Anglos are bad.
Right.
Some Anglos are not bad.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
Right.
So when instead of lumping things, we shouldn't lump. And I called to talk about the homosexual thing, but I'm gonna leave that alone until next week, because I know you're up against the wall. But I would like to say this, that you're 1,000% correct. We're going to throw the people that help us a little bit out for the people who don't help us at all. We got problems, bro. We got the psychological problems. Thanks a lot, bro.
All right, thank you. Have a great weekend. Let's talk
Appreciate
next week. Let me go to Still Bill in Cincinnati. Still Bill.
This is the day the Lord has made, and I will rejoice and be glad in it. Good afternoon, Reverend.
Good afternoon,
guest.
Good afternoon.
Hello?
Yes, good afternoon. Is he
Hello?
there? I don't think he hears me. Something wrong with his
I'm still here.
All right, I'm here. Go ahead.
I'm here.
Hello?
Reverend, how does it feel after your birthday? I feel like a new pair of shoes. Fit perfectly. I'm ready to tackle whatever adversity or whatever obstacle that we need to go through. I feel that, as a proud Democrat, I did my part. I voted for Kamala because Donald Trump is a person that just has no principles, no morals, whatever he does, and it's just like where, you know, the government shut down again. He's going to continue to do things to get under our skin. But as I say always, God is our president. And it's just a matter of time before Donald Trump falls short of the glory of God, you know, like everybody else. And, you know, like I said, I'm a proud Democrat. And, you know, you got a lot of callers, so I'm going to cut it short. And to Dominique, I pledge allegiance to keep it real.
All
Keep
right.
it real.
I will
Thank you
tell
for the
her.
opportunity.
Thank you also, Still Bill. And I thank Reverend Williams. Again, we can agree or disagree, but we don't have to be disagreeable. And we must deal with facts. And whether you agree or disagree, you can't change facts. And that's all I try to raise the people. You had a right to be Republican, but they had a right to say that Republicans did more than Democrats, because they haven't. And if they feel they have, tell me what they did. I can tell you a little bit the Democrats did. I can tell you the Republicans try to knock all that down. So we can have different opinions. We can't have different facts. Let's take a break. Be right back. Keeping it real. Sharpton. Williams. Be right back.
That is extremely important about the funding. But I also want to add how they're changing what can be taught. You have states outright saying you can't teach Black history and you can't teach certain other histories and the curriculum. You have this administration that is literally taking out exhibits from the Smithsonian. So we have not only an education problem in terms of resources, we have an education problem in terms of curriculum and what people are being taught. So I have one grandchild, 6-year-old. When he gets to high school, it may be just against the law for him to learn about certain parts of American history, which includes Blacks. We want to talk about slavery. We want to talk about the good side of America. Well, what does that mean? That's not history. Everything was not good. And I think that that is the threat that we've got to fight, which is why we've got to fight in the courts and the streets, because they're literally changing the textbooks as we go. As they do that, they change the opportunities, because then the fight against affirmative action is not having access to these institutions and telling these institutions. This whole fight around DEI, which they did, started at Harvard with a Black woman president. Started with them saying you can't teach diversity in an Ivy League school like Harvard. It didn't start in Little Rock at the high school. This fight, this time, was Harvard. And they went from there on. And I think that we've got to have the same resistance. If they could fight in the 50s, the ACP would have been formed together and deal with the question from Little Rock in terms of desegregation. Then we that are far more educated, far more economically secure personally, have no excuse in the age of what they did in Harvard not to be standing up back in this.
Many people cannot focus because they have not really come to terms with their calling and life purpose. In order to focus, you must also be clear on what you're focusing on. So if you're not clear on your purpose, if you're not clear on your life's calling, then focus on seeking that. Because if you just read the ways and roads you traveled that you didn't even choose, that were sort of just laid out for you by God, in that it's telling you, speaking to you about what your purpose is and what you were born to do and be. I learned the things that I didn't plan had to be planned by God, and God's plan was directed toward God's purpose in my life. And I focus on that. Not focus on what others do, not focus on how well they're doing or bad they're doing, but focus on whether I'm in line and aligned with what I'm supposed to be about. And in order to move straight ahead, you have to be focused on the path you're running on.
I'm here because I must be here. Democracy is not there for the pig, and you have to fight for democracy. That's what it is. What Trump will erase, we will replace.
Is the dreamers in many cases have reversed and tried to turn it into a nightmare. We come to Wall Street rather than Washington this year to let them know you can try to turn back the clock, but you can't turn back time. We gonna keep the dream alive on Wall Street. Keeping it real. Keeping it real. Keeping it real. I am your host, Reverend Al Sharpton, and we're back. 1-877-532-5797. 1-877-532-5797. And of course, the message board at www.nationalactionnetwork.net. Let me remind you again, Politics Nation with Al Sharpton, live at 5 Saturday and Sunday. I'll be on tomorrow and Sunday, 5 p.m. Eastern Time, and over the weekend, I'm going to have leaders in the Senate, U.S. Senate, talking about how we break this stalemate with the shutdown of the federal government. I'm going to talk to those in Chicago about how they're dealing with the court trying to stop Trump from sending more vice squads into the Chicago area.
and raiding really people that have nothing to do with being illegally there. I'm also going to, of course, have on the chair of the Congressional Black Caucus around the apparent vengeance indictment of Tish James, the State Attorney General of New York. So watch it both nights, Saturday and Sunday, on MSNBC at 5 p.m. Eastern Time. Let me also say that you that are in the New York or New Jersey or Connecticut area, meet me or beat me to the Saturday Action Rally at the House of Justice. I'll be there in the morning, 9 a.m. to 11 a.m. at the House of Justice, looking for you, you, and you. And we deal with every week trying to energize and inspire our people to be involved. So come experience our sessions if you're in the New York and vicinity area. You that are not in the New York area, you can watch it live on Impact Television or on live stream at nationalactionnetwork.net. Rev Williams, what's going on in Detroit at Detroit National Action Network in the morning?
Well, tomorrow we are preparing as we are counting down the last few days of a municipal election here in Detroit area. And we've got some folks coming by from the state who are running for some statewide elections. So we want you to join us tomorrow, 10 a.m. at the historic King Solomon Baptist Church, 6100 14th Street. We get our political report, we get our education report, we got our action item steps and all of the announcements for the week. You want to be an activist, you want to be engaged in the movement, National Action Network Saturday Action Rally in Michigan is the place to be.
All right, let's try to get a couple of more calls in. I think I want to read this off the message board. The democracy.fund, it says, watching Politics Nation on Sling. I have to set to record. Be sure the suits at MSNBC factor Sling in their ratings metrics at National Action at nationalactionnetwork.net. And I don't know if they do count them in the ratings. I do know this on the ratings score that the last 6 weeks, 7 weeks straight, that according to the Nielsen ratings, which I don't know if they count them, well, slinging that, but according to Nielsen ratings, we beat CNN in the ratings, Politics Nation, for the last 6 or 7 weeks, and had more viewers than the show before me and the show after me. So I'm not worried about the ratings. I'm worried about us reaching even more people. And I think that if people continue to tell people about it, like I said, if you get them there, I'll hold them there. I think that's what I'm most concerned about. All right, let's go to the great state of Cleveland, to the one and only irreplaceable, irrefutable president of the Greater Cleveland chapter of National Action Network, Miss Dr. Marcia McCoy.
Our honorable beloved Reverend Dr. Professor Al Sharpton, I again want to thank you. That outstanding, it was brilliant. Any word you can put to that.
You got to speak more in the mic. We can't hear you.
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I hear you now.
That the National Action Network Triumph Award ceremony was second to none. It was top rated. I want to thank Love and Action. They insisted on driving me there.
Oh, that's wonderful.
For it to be on a Monday, we had individuals coming in from Kentucky, Philadelphia, all over, and they were just glad to be in the room to celebrate your birthday. You a dancing machine. You have gone from being you have gone from being the Energizer Bunny to the dancing machine. So shout out to Love and Action for driving me, and thank you for allowing us to be a part of the Triumph Awards. Come on, Bishop.
Dr. Al Sharpton,
Yes, sir.
Dr. Charles Williams,
Yes, sir.
hold my mule, my brother.
I got you, Reverend.
All right, Lord Acton coined the phrase power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. Never have true words been spoken. Sitting in the Oval Office of the United States of America today is a power-hungry, narcissistic, selfish, bigoted white supremacist by the name of convicted felon Donald J. Trump. With the Supreme Court's granting him criminal immunity above the law, he is now weaponizing the federal government to do his biddings and elicit illegal activities. Utilizing a puppet speaker, Mike Johnson, of the House, and a silent Republican majority in the Senate, he is terrorizing the country with fear and personal retribution. His most dangerous move yet is to take a page out of Hitler's Nazi Germany by using the United States military to punish anyone who stands in his way to run the country. This evil, less than human being is obsessed with wanting the removal of all opposition to his becoming president forever. You heard him say out of his foul, potty mouth, vote for me this time, and you will not have to do it again. Lying over and over again is his method of governance. Food prices, the economy, and inflation are not on his list for interest. He campaigned on it. Now he's creating hate, division, and diversion from the release of the Epstein files that portray him in a 10-year relationship with a convicted sex trafficker who raped young girls as young as 14 years of age. In firing every government official who does not obey his dictates and hiring lackeys who bow and bend their knees to him, he plans to turn this democracy into an authoritarian dictatorship that worships a king. That king being none other than convicted felon and dictator Donald J. Trump. The writing is on the wall, and the quicker we resist the reality of this, the quicker we will attend to the business of voting him out of the presidential office of the United States of America. The hatchet job that he is doing on black and brown people is beyond the pale of decency, dignity, and humaneness. According to him, everything wrong with America is because of diversity, equity, and inclusion. Never has he lifted up his voice for condemning white violence against black people, but is quick to go on television to condemn black violence against white. He is a racist bigot to the core. Make no mistake about it. The government shutdown is to save 5 million of people in healthcare, poor people. His policies all attend to taking care of the millionaires and the billionaires. Any human being of virtue, justice, equality, and freedom who supports this diabolical racist does not believe in democracy nor democratic ideals. The best way that we can get rid of this cancer to the health and welfare of the universe is to vote this clown out of office. Thank you, Doctor.
All right, thank you. And let me just say this thank you, Dr. McCoy, saying ditto. Let me say this before we have to get off. We just got a news exclusive from MSNBC that now the Department of Justice is seeking to indict John Bolton on federal charges. He was the former NSA director turned a critic of Donald Trump. So if I would not be surprised if by the weekend we hear by tomorrow or Monday, John Bolton is indicted, which means Donald Trump, will have in 1 week to 10 days' time indicted Tish James, John Bolton, his former NSA director, and James Comey, the former FBI director, all in vengeance. 3 in 1 week. And we sitting up here acting like that's something normal. And they all being indicted by a prosecutor who never was a prosecutor before. And I mean, we are looking at the absolute disrepair of any pretense of a democratic process. And that is that if you're against me, I'm not going to try to defeat you. I'm going to try to lock you up. And that sounds like a autocratic government that we fought against. I would not be surprised if the MSNBC sources are right. I have a show there, had a show there 14 years. They usually double check whatever they come with. So I'm pretty sure that they're on the money. Wow. They're going to try to indict John Bolton, if not today or late today or over the weekend. And there'll be Bolton, James, and Comey in 1 week. This is like a banana republic, as they used to say. All right, let's get ready to go. Let me thank Reverend Charles Williams. Let me thank you, Reverend Stephen Marshall. Let me thank all of you that called in, listened in, that you that called in and couldn't get through, but hung in there anyhow. Remember, whatever you do, wherever you go, however you feel, tell somebody, tell anybody, tell everybody. Tell everybody that whatever you do, keep it real. Keep it real. Keep it real. Talk to you Monday.